Wow, another Ignatius, how are you? Iggy, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Well, I'm great. It's sunny. It's
Yes,
always life's a little easier when it's sunny.
it is.
And
It is.
we had a bit of rain and I know the plants want the rain and all the trees want the rain, but I don't want the rain. So
We'll have enough of it coming up.
yeah, we will, won't we?
Yeah.
We'll have like about 4 or 5 months. Uh, we introduced the world to your life last week. We talked about the canoes. We talked about why that's so important to your community, how it helps your community, how it heals your community. But what we haven't talked about and decided that we would is about your background. Where did you come from? What happened to you? And I think it's essential we know that we know that so that we know why you do what you do today. It's essential we do that and review it so we know that others may watch this and go, I'd like to be healed. I would like that to happen to me. Uh, and so I think it's really important we go right to the beginning. So, Iggy, if you could start us off and tell us about your life. And now we can't do that in nice little chunks, 15 or 20 minutes. So we might take 2 or 3 videos to really
Put
fully
it together.
understand.
Put it together.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead. When were you born?
Okay. I I was born in 1951 down here in Sydney, called Restaven Hospital, where my dad passed, and um, my mother and came from Duncan. My dad from here, and he was. Like I said before, they were grooming him to be a leader, a chief, and they got married. I don't know what year, but I'm in the middle of all the siblings. But I was born in 1951, getting up there now in age.
Well, you know what they say, 70 is the new 40,
Oh yeah,
80 is the new 50. That's what
yeah.
they say.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, you're older than me and you look way younger than me. So whatever you're doing, congratulations.
Oh yeah.
So you were born in a big family. Tell me how many kids were in it.
There were six of us.
Okay.
My oldest sister was Virginia. Then there was Margaret, then Woolard, who's still with us today,
Hmm.
then me, then my younger sister Harriet. We had a younger brother. The youngest brother was Fred. He's gone now too. But there used to be six of us. And during the 60s scoop, they took us away from here when we were out from holidays from residential school. And when I made my way back in the 70s, I got an ancestral name, which is part of our culture. I carry my dad's name because I'm junior, and we all got our names given to us when we came back. And my grandfather always thought that was important that we carry a name. The elders can understand where you come from when you carry this ancestral name.
Yes, and so always know to forgive my ignorance. Is Ignatius your
My given
ancestral name?
English given name,
And okay,
and my ancestral name is Cholakathat. It's hard to pronounce, but that's my name.
okay.
And Ignatius is my English given name, my dad's name. I've
So
always been told about my name and asked what does it mean and everything, but it's Latin, I guess.
so I've heard the term 60 scoop. I've heard that. Um, what what actually happens? Who comes into your home?
In
Who makes those decisions? Who made those decisions?
the Indian Affairs, the government. when we were young kids and just my grandfather, and that's all we had in both Duncan and here, just our grandfathers, no grandmother. They were by themselves. And we lived with him when we'd come out of residential school. And then one day this car come driving in the driveway, Indian agent car. Indian agent got out, rounded myself, my sister, and my youngest brother Fred. I don't know where the older ones, they were out that day. And then they gathered us up and told us we weren't wanted here anymore. So we piled into the car and they took us across the ferry to an outfit or a court called Catholic Charities to take possession of us, I guess, and
So
put
you
us.
were about how old?
I must have been
Fif-
about 12 or so.
Okay, so you were not a you knew what was going on. Do you
Yeah, I
remember?
did. My younger sister and my youngest brother, they were terrified because they were taking us away. Nobody ever knew what happened to us here. They, when we first came home in the 70s, a guy brought us to the elders and they apologized to us saying they never knew what happened to us. Nobody told them anything.
So somebody from the government of Canada, under the policy of Indian Affairs, Department of Indian Affairs, drives up your driveway, takes you, literally that scoops you.
Yep.
You are then shipped, and you guys are probably really upset. Had this already been happening all around you? Did you see other folk? Did this happen to other families?
Not down, not down here when we left. No, we were the younger kids of that time. The old people around here just said, one day we seen you guys around the community and then never seen you for years. Nobody ever knew what happened to us. Not even my older siblings. We were gone. And like I say, I remember that day when they took us to Vancouver and put us through court to take possession of us. And they brought us to Aldergrove
And
out in
that
the
was the
Fraser
Catholic
Valley.
Church. The Catholic
Yes,
Church were the people who took control.
yes. They're the ones that decided we were going to Aldergrove.
And
The
then the
community
policy,
was Mennonite.
pardon me?
The community where we were, they around us were a lot of Mennonites. I never knew what a Mennonite was until I went there.
Yeah. And then and so the policy was that the Catholic Church, and through their so-called teachings, would be changing the way you think, would be changing your culture, would be changing who you are. That was
Yes,
clearly what they decided was best for you,
they,
without no input from you, with zero input from your community, and with zero input from your family. Is that right?
that's right, exactly right. They
And so
wanted to change who we are.
today that's called terrorism. Today that's called kidnapping. Okay.
I know it was terrifying because we never knew what was going on. We were so young. I was the older one. I made the decisions for my sister and my brother. They didn't know where we were going. And a lot of times we even thought about making a run for it just to get away, but we
To
didn't.
escape.
Yeah, there was nowhere to go.
What was life like at this Catholic church or Catholic residences?
Um, we went to Aldergrove out in the Fraser Valley. We were terrified, and we were in a residential school right before this where we were always called ugly brown-skinned people. So you took that with you when you went to the white community,
Mhm.
wondering what everybody's going to think of you when they seen you. A lot of the kids at the school used to really stare at us because, not because we were ugly, but that's the way I took it. They never seen First Nations people before, and they were trying to figure out a way to come and talk to me. and my sister and brother. But that's the thing that was in my mind and my heart, called ugly all our lives from day one in residential school. And then all of a sudden you're in a white home. And I used to get into fights at the day school or the school I was at. But that was one thing good about my foster father, the white guy. He said, never be ashamed of who you are. You can't change the color of your skin. So stand up for yourself if you have to, or they'll always pick on you. And I took those words. And that's when my life sort of turned around about accepting me and the color of my skin.
So you were you lived in you were so-called adopted. You were placed into white families,
Yes.
homes. All together, you and your
Yes.
sisters.
Yeah, they took us all in. They were going to split us up, but my sister was crying in that court, whatever it was,
Yeah.
said, we don't want to be split up. And I guess the one in charge heard her. So they kept us together. And we went to that. It was a 27-acre farm where you learned how to take care of milking cows and horses and pigs and chickens and farm life, eh? So you work hard there, but the one thing I did is learn how to work hard. And when I first, like this part of my story came up when I left there when I was 18, I aged out and I got they never brought me back here to Vancouver Island. I went to Vancouver, started driving a truck delivering meat, McDonald's meat to all the McDonald's and different things. And I got my first paycheck. That's when I realized I was free from the governments, free to make my own money. I never did before in my life. It's just,
I'm just shocked because a lot of white Canadians just hear the higher level word scooped, taken. They don't get what really happened. So you're there for 6 years with this family,
yes,
and and somebody said, likely the father of this family, at 18, you're allowed to go?
yeah. They knew it. I never knew what was happening, but I noticed the foster parents were kind of letting me know that, I could leave. And they felt bad when I left because I was going into the world, whether I could make it or not in the real world after coming from residential school to this place and then going out into the world. But I found it was easy working because you work so hard on the farms
Hmm.
that I could adjust easily to driving truck and cleaning my truck after the day's work when I'm done. I used to
Where
go
did you
and
live?
one of the guys that worked at this meat packing plant had an apartment building, and he set it up so I could have a bachelor suite. But before I went in there, when they dropped me off in Vancouver, the government,
Yes.
they put me into a boarding room where I shared a room with a guy from Japan, a room, and I stayed there for a while, but it was paid for by the government until I got working. And that's where I lived in Vancouver in a boarding room.
So, so you're in a residential school before you were 12, which was difficult.
Yes.
That was not your culture's schooling or education preferred method. Then you are stolen and put into another family, and you're not at all attached to your community
No.
culture.
No.
Then at 18, you are asked to go live on your own.
Yep.
So let's just assume any of us doing that to any of our kids today, um, we'd all be put in jail for that. Okay, I would
Yeah,
be. All right. It would, there'd be social services all over the place. That wouldn't be
yeah,
allowed in a
yeah.
million years. Okay, but it was then. Now, what happened to your sisters? Did
My
they?
two, my two older sisters ran away from residential school. My oldest sister that ran away first from Mission, she went to the downtown east side to make her way in life. She's about 13 or 14 when she ran away. Like I say, they knew our father, who had a great sense of humor, was well loved by everybody. He was being groomed to be a chief for leadership, so they knew our dad, and everybody told me he was very well loved. He had great sense of humor, always joking with people, and my older sisters and my older brother. They they got abused in residential school, both of them, and ran away. And my second oldest sister, Margaret, was locked up until they closed down the residential schools. They let her out
You
on
say
the street.
abused physically and sexually?
Yes, that's why she ran away. They were both raped, from what I was told by her friends. When my oldest sister had gone through Cooper Island, where we were, got to grade 8 and went to Mission. There was another residential school there with higher grades, 9 to 12 or whatever. And then she got raped there and ran away. Hopped the train that it slows down going into the town of Mission. She hopped the train and it went to Vancouver, and that's where she got off.
And she ends up at the east side.
Yes.
Is
And
she
then,
still alive?
no, she passed in 1972. Her and her boyfriend tried to change their life around. They got married and moved to the west end of Vancouver. He was an apprentice plumber. He went with his buddies fishing one day, and she decided to go see some old friends.
Hmm.
And what happened was she got an overdose and passed in 72.
Go ahead.
Margaret is the second oldest, was locked up. They took her to Vancouver too. And there was this lady that worked down there, helped Margaret and my mother get low cost housing together after they released my second oldest sister. And then she passed in 89 of cancer because she wasn't treated very good. She wasn't all that healthy when she came home.
So you are now you've now left the farm. You're in a boarding house,
Yes.
and then you get into an apartment because
Yep.
of a friend. You're now working delivering food for McDonald's. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, delivering meat to and different restaurants and institutions, but the big one was McDonald's.
When and or if did you ever start to get into the alcohol or the drugs at that young
N-
age?
Not really. I
Okay.
um I used to run down to the store for the guys on Friday nights to
Mm-hmm.
get some liquor for them. They'd have a drink together.
Yeah.
It it wasn't until I met who I married this girl from North Van, but because I was working, I used to get the booze and go to parties, beach parties or whatever. That's when I started drinking when I went to the reserve in North Vancouver
Mm-hmm.
around First Nations people. There was a lot of partying in them days.
And how old were you then? Around your early 20s?
Yeah, about 19 or so.
I see. And of course, you don't have someone to phone or family to phone or parents to phone and say, help me, right? You're on your own. You're on your own.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
I
Except for your friends.
The people around the shop became my first friends because I never knew anybody or anything. I was just in Vancouver. Kind of didn't know where I really came from after a while. I've been away for so long.
That's right. And I mean, to this day, um, First Nations people are treated poorly and by racists and bigots in the community to this day. And so you must have been surrounded by that.
I met it every day in my life and that,
Mm.
but I learned to be strong-minded and push things off and
How did you learn that?
through
Okay.
the
Okay, that's what.
through
Where was that spirit for you, and how did it become so strong?
I think I must have carried a lot of it from my dad. There's a lot of things I can't figure out why I am and was strong-minded in them days to survive. And when I heard the stories of my late dad, and he was so smart and well respected, and I must have a lot of his spirit to survive and to talk to my younger siblings, to be the big brother to them, that we're going to be okay, you know?
So in the previous video, we talked about you mentioned a warrior mentality, a warrior background.
Yes,
And that means different things for every age. That means something different in the 1800s, means something different in the 1900s. One could easily say that there are now warriors today in the US fighting fascism. Okay.
yes,
So when you say you come from a warrior background, it would seem to me that whatever that means was in you. You fought. You said, I'm not going to put up with this. Do you believe that?
yes, exactly. I do. And I think that's the way my sisters were too. That's why they ran away from residential school to get away from that life, but they couldn't. Whereas I was able to adjust in my surroundings and the people around me to live and go to work every day. Nobody taught me that. I just got up and went to work. And I'm like I told Betsy before and Carol, that's when I realized I was free. When I got my first check, there was nobody looking over my shoulder anymore saying, no, you can't do that. No, you're coming with us. Those days were over. And that's when I realized I'm free, finally,
Hmm.
from being taken away from day school to residential school and went through there. And then the 60 scoop they took us while I was in residential school probably saved me from the abuse at residential school when they took me. But it was another type of adjusting we had to do in the white world because we were called down and called ugly people all our lives
Hmm.
from around 8 years old on up. Never knew any better.
Okay. I think this is, first of all, extraordinary. Thank you for sharing this with me. I am in shock
Mhm.
because white people like me, don't hear the details of these stories. Okay. Generally speaking, we don't. I'm generally, and none of us do. What I would like to end this video with, okay, is what we just talked about, and that there's a kindling of a spirit that has continued to this day that you are now manifesting with the canoes, with the trees that became canoes that are now in the water, and they have spirit.
Yeah.
So let's link all these videos with this spirit, and I'll ask you this question. Did you feel that spirit? So when you were saying no, and you were saying, I'm not going to fall, and I'm going to get up and I'm going to live through the day, and I'm going to say no to these temptations, did you start to feel, which was a warrior spirit, did you start to sense that you have that? Or were you just sort of living every day?
I think when I came home, and because of who my dad was, the elders always talked to me to give me advice. And even my late grandfather, my dad's dad, and they always told me about a hereditary chief a long time ago, and they told me I belong to those canoes. They don't belong to us, we belong to them. And you do because of your dad and the line of chieftainships I came from. They belong to those canoes. The one chief they're talking about, his name was Qualaquintet. He used to patrol our territory out here on the war canoes. At one time, I was told there used to be about 5,000 people in this community before contact, and that's how he protected our territories. He went out on paddling and checking on our territory all the time. That's where we're descendants of, and my elders told me, don't ever give up that kind of life. You belong to it. So when I finished my days of racing, an elder came to the community when I started training youth, well, where I'm doing today. He came along and overseen to make sure I did things right, because where he got it, his teachings was from my dad, and he wanted to give back in our culture, and that's what I do today from this elder passed down from my dad. So I guess my dad's always been there with me.